In this session, we will have a look at Agile Performance Insights with SAP Business Intelligence. More primarily, we are talking about self-service business intelligence with SAP products, specifically Lumira. My name is Iver van der Zand. I represent Business Analytics and Business Intelligence for SAP Benelux, and on the screen you see my contact details and also my Twitter account where I summarize all new trends within SAP Business Intelligence. If I talk to customers, and I do that every single day, then I recognize two main trends in the business intelligence market that appear as of 3 years ago. There is a core need, every customer has a core need to have some insight in a certain department, a KPI or a process. Trying to answer questions like what happened and how did it happen is typically being done with enterprise business intelligence tooling, where we talk about reporting, OLAP analysis or managed dashboarding. However, two new trends appear. A lot of end users that I talk to ask for, on top of the current BI tooling, they ask for tools that allow them to relatively autonomously work with business intelligence themselves. They like to start analyzing and exploring data in a manner that they can start and develop themselves without interfering with their ICT department or competence center every single time. That means that end users are looking for products that are very lightweight, very easy to adopt and easy to learn, and very focused, meaning limited number of features, just allowing them to quickly start analyzing. They also require the tool to be able to be highly visual and use those visualizations in a storytelling techniques where you can use graphs, bars and other graphical elements to explain the conclusions of your analysis. A second trend that we see in the market is a need for end users to not only answer questions like what happened and why did it happen, but also answer questions like what could happen or what is the best that could happen. This is the area of advanced analytics where we talk about predictive analysis. Today in this session I will focus on the agile visualization technique and trend, also mentioned as self-service business intelligence. If we look at the SAP Business Analytics Solutions portfolio, then we can recognize the three areas in the categorization that we have. In the green area, you typically see the products used for enterprise business intelligence to get insight in the performance of a KPI, department, or process. Over here, products reside like web intelligence reporting, crystal reports reporting, also for example the Design Studio dashboarding tools and the Microsoft Analysis for Office plugins for business intelligence. Today I focus on the orange area, which I already explained as agile visualization or self-service. In the blue area we see the predictive modules. A little bit more into detail explaining the current business intelligence structure. Over here you see the categorization, and over here on the bottom I have an overview of per category the different components that SAP offers. If I look a bit more into detail and use this business intelligence suite structure graph, I could open the graph to explore it a bit more into detail. And today, as said, I want to have a look at the agile exploration and visualizations techniques. So if I click that graph and drill down a little bit so we can see the different offerings that SAP has. And in light blue, we see the main offering and topic of today, SAP Lumira, which again, if I drill down, has more or less three flavors. There is a desktop version that I'm currently using where you can connect to source systems and enrich data. There is the Lumira server version in the darker blue color, which is used to share data. If you are with more than one and you want to share your visualizations throughout your company, you work with Lumira server, which can connect or run even on HANA if required. And for people not wanting to have a footprint, you can go completely in the cloud. I will go back to my presentation. And over here you see again, I'm talking about this agile exploration and visualization section. I'm going to focus on the orange area, Lumira, today. If I work with SAP Lumira, one could make the analogy towards cooking. Lumira works in 4 very simple steps, the same way like a cook does when he prepares a meal in his restaurant. Step number 1 is that we acquire data, so we connect to source systems. That could be any database that can be accessed with SQL coding, that could be Excel, that could be web content, that could be text files, that could be SAP BW, and of course we provide native connections to SAP in-memory data platform. The second step is that we enrich data. We can create hierarchies, we can create calculations, we can create groupings that we want to use in our analysis and visualizations. The third step is the actual creation of visualization, analysis, and even stories with our Lumira tool. And the last step, if we like what we have created, we can share the information that we made with colleagues or even customers. The same as a cook, especially the first 2 steps take the most effort. A cook also prepares his meals by choosing his flavors, preparing, cleaning his sauces and vegetables, and the actual cooking, creation of visualizations doesn't take too long. Serving the plate or sharing is the least work. It's the same in Lumira. Enriching and picking up the data in step number 1 and 2 are the steps that take the most time. Let us have a look at an example. Over here you see again the 4 steps summarized in a few graphs, where you can see that in terms of effort and work, step number 1 and 2 are the core steps to be taken. If you have any questions regarding SAP Lumira, I suggest that you have a look at these various sources. You can follow me on SAP Twitter. You can go to saplumira.com, and I created a number of demonstrations and video on the YouTube channel of SAP Belux. There's also a large source of SCN pages with all kinds of information regarding Lumira. Well, let's have a look at Lumira and see how the product works. To do that, I don't have to go to Lumira. I'm already in Lumira, as you can see. So let us easily go back and let us pick up some data. So I'm going to add a data set. And over here you can see the different sources of data that I can pick up. Let me start with a very simple example and pick up an Excel file with some data regarding the analysis of store performance that sell computer games. So I choose the Excel and the location where the data is. I check all the columns that I want to see and I pick up the data. Over here are 13,000 rows that are now being brought in my analysis. And you see that Lumira automatically on my top left hand side recognizes the metrics in the data. So the measures or the facts. On my lower left hand side you see all the attributes that are available in Lumira. And now this is step number 1, picking up the data. So you can see it is very easy. I just connect to the source of my preferences. If I slightly go to step number 2, start with enriching, I will give you a few examples to easily enrich your data. You see over here that I have date element as my lowest time element. If I click the wheel, I can automatically create a time hierarchy, which is displayed now over here, which allows me to roll up to month, quarter and year. Later on, I can use that to drill down in my analysis. The same goes for city. I have city as lowest level of available geospatial data. I can click it. There is an embedded geodatabase in Lumira which recognizes the names of cities or sub-cities. I can select and automatically generate a geographical hierarchy. It double checks whether it recognizes all city names. It automatically creates a geographical hierarchy so that I can now drill down and select on the different geo settings. I give you another example of enrichment. I'm still in step number 2. Over here you see that I have for store performance the target for each store and the revenue, and I can easily create a calculation that I can use. For example, I could say gap to target and create that as a separate matrix, and that gap to target is defined as target minus revenue. I tick OK, and you will see that this metric is now appearing over here, and I can use that in my calculations. Another example, over here I have the genre of the DVDs that I rent. I have DVDs that are in action, comedy, drama, family, game or horror. If I'm interested, I could easily create some groupings that I can use in my analysis. Imagine that I have a group of genres that I like, for example comedy and family. Oops. I add that to the like section and I make a second group, do not like. And to that group I add the other genres, and now I have two groups that I can use. Over here you will see them appear over here, and I can use them in my analysis. I could even create a custom hierarchy saying, well, the lower level genre rolls up to genre groups, and again you see the hierarchy appearing over here. Well, there was an enormous amount of calculations or enrichments that can be done, but let me quickly go to step number 3, is starting with the actual analysis. So I tick the Visualize tab, and over here you see the screen that I'm used as an end user to start my analysis. Out of the box, Lumira comes with a bunch of bar, column and stacked column charts, also a Marimekko and a 3D chart. There's line and area charts, also with 2 y-axes if you need them. There's pie, donut and 3D pie. Of course, there are a number of maps that you can use to plot data on a chart. Also, Lumira is open to Esri or even Galileo plugin if you want to have more advanced charts. There's bubble scatters. There's heat and tree maps, very interesting heat maps for white spot analysis if you want to do those. There's crosstab and tables, numeric point to plot specific data on in a table, and over here you see a box with a number of, I would say, other charts, tag clouds, network, funnel charts that you can use in your analysis. As you can see on my screen, I have a 10th box with all kinds of charts. Very important is that Lumira is open to open source visualizations that appear on the web. There are libraries with over 50,000 different chart types. Using Lumira VisPicker, you can import those without any cost, and you can use those charts, customized charts in your visualizations if you want. I will give you a few examples later on. To start analyzing, Lumira works very easy. I just pick the metrics I'm interested in. Let me pick revenue, target, any metric I just created. I can turn my graph. If I say, well, I want to see that by, for example, genre with the hierarchy that I just created, the hierarchy with the likes and the not likes, I can click it. Because I created the hierarchy, I have the drill down functionality, and I can now, for example, zoom on the family section, just drag and drop it, drag and select it. I filter it, and you see the filters appearing over here. I could easily duplicate this one and say, well, bearing in mind I still have these filters, I will have a look at it from another perspective, for example, per city. And I now see the data per city. If I like to have that in another graph, this gives me another focus, and again I could duplicate this one and say, well, I also want to have a look at, for example, bearing in mind again these filters, I want to look at it from a city perspective, and over here you have the data plotted on a map. I will now in a separate video show you a little day-to-day analysis regarding financial data. Thank you for your attention.